listening on BBTV, where we discuss conversations that made it to the social media space. I'm Deborah Ezeh. I'm not doing this alone, of course. I'm doing this with our very own
Onyeka Valentine. I'm smiling for a reason.
Why are you smiling?
Because I'm about to air my mind about this Dangote issue.
You know, for a sec, I actually thought
Right.
we had escaped. You and your mind.
There is no escaping. Let me allow you to do the intro first. I will come to that. No
Okay.
escaping.
Let's get to here.
The Lord's work was interrupted.
You know, I actually said it today that Dangote is doing lots of work.
Right.
I didn't know that the time would come that I would ever say that. That Dangote is actually doing lots of work. But before we get to your opinion, let's get into the story. Now, our first story is the crisis at Dangote Refinery PENGASSAN has shut down operations after accusing the refinery of sacking over 800 Nigerian workers for joining the union and replacing them with foreign staff. The union called it a violation of labor laws and has ordered a nationwide strike starting today. Gas suppliers have already cut supply to power stations, raising fears of a nationwide blackout. Now, would you say that this strike is justified? And what should come first here? Is it protecting jobs or keeping the refinery running?
In order not to think about it twice, straight to the point. I tell you, look, again, we all know this for sure. When two elephants fight, of course, the grass suffers. But my worry right now is it is coming too soon for the grass to even suffer. It was not just yesterday that we just managed to breathe some fresh air, that we can have our own indigenous refinery, not only putting to shame our own, national, Nigerian refinery, all Nigerians anyway, but our own previous refinery, putting them to shame, saying with all the billions and trillions that was invested in it, to wake it up, it was still, quote and unquote, still really didn't make any sense. So you have Dangote that stepped in to now say, okay, let's now see how we can make sense of all this. Months after, we're hearing this issue with PENGASSAN. We're hearing that issue with why you're part of a union, and we're hearing this issue or whatever it is. Look, let's call a spade a spade. The country's economy is on life support. Is this the right time, okay, to begin to create more bottlenecks for indigenous, or put this way, people who can run the country from their own angle as individuals, not necessarily running the country, but as individuals, the quota that is adding. Now, I'm not saying this because I'm either on Dangote's side or not on his side. I'm saying this as a Nigerian, okay, and also as a broadcaster and a journalist. Let's be honest. Look, motorists are not smiling. Drivers are going through a lot. Commuters are feeling the pain. Market women and business people are also feeling the brunt. And see if it's coming this way. The good question should now be, if we allow PENGASSAN and Dangote go at each other back and forth, there will come a time when you'll probably not even be able to even buy fuel at 2,500 naira per liter. This is where we're heading to. I pray we don't get there. Because truth be told, the modular refineries are not doing a great job at it anyways. And so you have someone who has said, I'm going to step in, invest money to make things happen. Now, in order not to cry foul, right, in a situation where we have a lot of other chickens, I will simply say this. Can we move away from personal grudges and begin to focus on Nigerians? Right.
I get where you're coming from, but that was my stance this
Right.
morning when we talked about it. But looking at it, don't you think this over 800 people getting a chunk number of people get
Great
unemployed?
question. Great question. 800 people are being laid off. I'm sorry if they're laying you guys off. I'm so sorry about that. But we have 200 million Nigerians. I'm going to compare
And you've added
that to
the rate of unemployment now. You've added 800,000 people to it.
So my
That
point
doesn't
now,
speak well for the country.
Great stuff. So my point now is this: would we say we should yield? Put this way, not we. Dangote should yield to PENGASSAN, and then allow the business itself suffer we will end up buying fuel at a far more exorbitant cost. So for him to stand his ground will simply mean, look, before you came into a company that is a private company, you signed the deal, you signed the contract. I will not be part of a union. You signed, it's there. All right, so let's call a spade a spade. As a business person, if I sign and say, look, Debbie, I want to contract your services for this particular purpose, this period to this period, I will put it on paper, black and white. I don't expect tomorrow to now come back and now say, wait a minute, that you've been given the short end of the stick. Didn't you see this thing before it was given to you?
So why are you not even talking about negotiation? Don't you think there's no room for Dangote and PENGASSAN and also the oil workers to actually come together and negotiate?
Yes, let's address the elephant in the room. These people are not happy that he can operate without any hook on them. PENGASSAN has been designed to make sure every other person is still, they're a regulatory body. We know this for sure, right? So when you're not playing to around their rules and regulations, they find a way to pin you down. Now, let's also not forget that some other big wigs are there watching. Are you telling me that the president of Nigeria, which is our president, is not aware of it?
Let's take a look at some of the tweets.
You know,
of course.
Let's take a look at
the first tweet today is from Dash. And Dash says, PENGASSAN threatening to shut down Dangote Refinery. That's not union power. It's economic hostage taken dressed
most definitely
as negotiation. Another from another netizen we have from Magnificent, and he said Dangote must comply with the laws of the land. It's not bigger than the law. It is not a sabotage to express their freedom of association. The workers' right to join the union was to seek better welfare. Another tweet from a netizen, Affluence Ola Abdul, he said, why can't they dialogue first? My thought exactly, before taking this step. They shouldn't be enemies of progress. The government should intervene and making sure their power is reduced. The man spent a lot of money to build this refinery. Nah, why would they act as if they don't care?
So there's the business side to this.
And we have one more tweet from Mr. Prolific, and he said, when two elephants fight, oh my God,
there we go.
This is Valentine Onyeka. When two elephants fight, the grass suffers it. The common man should never think the both parties have their great interests at heart. It is business to them first. Power, tussle, and control before anything. And
so before anything, I'll quickly just say this. Look, can it be a leak of one of those contracts? And I can assure you, Dangote is a very big company, well organized. And I can assure you that in that contract, it was spelled out. Saying,
I'll try to either.
Once you agree and you are onboarded as staff of Dangote, I'm sure there's a clause that says the idea of being part of a union is out of it. Very clear. And so you sat back and said, okay, you know what, let me still take the job and later go behind my words. It doesn't work that way.
I still feel that there's room for dialogue, and you don't need all of this.
You've agreed.
Yeah.
You've agreed, you've signed the document. Unless such document doesn't exist. Unless they didn't have such.
It's okay for me to agree with you that, oh, Valentine, I want to be your PA. Then you tell me that, oh, Debbie, you don't have to wear blue if you're my PA.
Then along the line,
I'm like, oh, blue looks good on me.
Why?
We can sit down and negotiate. So, okay, what kind of blue do you not like? Not all kind of blue looks alike. So, you get what I'm saying? So there's still room for dialogue.
Negotiation. Okay, so what that means is that you put yourself in a gray area. You already, so it's in the court of law, there's what they call acting under pretense, right? You have
that's not acting under pretense.
You already have some ulterior motive. So you kind of deceive the other party to get into your agreement.
That's not the same.
I will explain to you now.
People always review contracts.
So to review contracts, there's what they call grace period to review contracts. Okay, so so I don't know the kind of contract that they signed. I mean, I don't work for Dangote. I don't know the inside out, but I know one thing for sure. Something as delicate as this, you would not tell me that they didn't have black and white signature put in place with names and everything follow through. Having said so, right? Let's now come out of the official thing. Let's look at it from the angle of being human. Maybe at some point they could have realized that workers could have realized that, look, our rights have been trampled upon. Yes, you have labor, there to protect the rights of workers. I mean, labor plays a key role. In this case, PENGASSAN, right? They play a key role to help regulate workers' relationship with employee, whether employee and employer's relationship in oil and gas sector. They are there. They've been there for years. So the question now is, shouldn't PENGASSAN have exhausted their option? Let's start with that.
Well, let's just, hope that the meeting with the NLC today is going to yield positive results. But we have to quickly move to the second story for today, and we're going all the way to Adamawa State, where the former Adamawa governor and 2023 Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi has condemned the alleged use of 600 million naira in public funds to sponsor the wives of 21 local government chairmen on a trip to Turkey. It describes the move as wasteful and insensitive at a time when Nigerians are struggling with poverty, unemployment, and hunger. Let's quickly take a look at the tweet before I get your thoughts on this. And the first tweet from ADC Vanguard, and it says, this is exactly the kind of reckless spending that keeps Nigeria trapped in poverty. How can local government funds meant for classrooms, health centers and pensions be diverted to sponsor trips for people with no official role? Governance must serve the people, not private luxuries. Another tweet from Iyodo Olusegun, and it said, while I condemn their acts, I don't expect someone who didn't allow local government to function for 7 years out of his 8 years in office to write with this much confidence. I think that's directed at Peter Obi. And then we have Clement Noka, and he said, how can a state like Adamawa, which is battling with insecurity and out-of-school children, waste a whopping 600 million naira on wives of 21 local government chairmen on foreign trip for leadership training? And the final tweet says 600 million naira could empower 6,000 women. Instead, it was wasted on tourism for politicians' wives. This is why poverty persists in Nigeria. Do you agree?
So this part, I have to tell you to just calm down. So I can
okay.
You see, it's a very simple thing. Look, the state has been published for a while, but they had money. Key areas that need to be dealt with are not swept under the carpet. And so you deemed it right to now say, wait a minute, let us carve out these people because they are more or less like the blue bloods. When you say blue blood, someone who is 10 VIP. And say, I'm sure they need some form of recreational activity. I'm sure they need some form of, tourism that will allow them even be able to be better wives. And you spend that amount of money. And so
the backstory was, for the women to actually go to Turkey, Istanbul, for them to attend, training where they can assist their husband in treating and leading the local government well.
Let's be honest, if we truly want them to be trained, how are we saying the Ministry of Women Affairs is a dump and it's not useful? Because what they're simply telling us, and look, you know what? The area that covers women's welfare, Ministry of Women Affairs, right? Government made a big mistake. That's what it means. Because if truly they acknowledge that post and that ministry makes sense, they will not even spend half of 1/10 of that money, right? Say they want to go to Turkey, right? Then get experts from those areas, pay them, a tiny fraction, pay them that money, and then have them to train them on whatever they need to get trained on. As far as I'm concerned, why do you go to university and you come out? It's called character and learning. So if they didn't get character and learning, so they waste. In fact, matter of fact, they didn't go to university. Let's look at that.
They didn't go to university.
Because, if you come out of university, you will assume that you have gone through the 4 walls.
Is that how it works?
That's why it's called character and learning.
The university only teaches the theory. They only teach you why 2 + 2 = 4.
Oh, that's wrong.
Well, that's what the university is for. That's all university. They just teach you the theory. That's why we have the theory of every subject, and
So I will agree with you from the angle of they are not equipped, so they will teach that kind of curriculum.
No, we all know that Nigerian universities.
However, not all. Some are, they're there. So
oh my God.
My point is, if they didn't get proper tutelage, proper quote and unquote, they didn't achieve that character and learning, then I'm sorry, they wasted their 4 years in university. To now say you're going to teach them in a different way how to become better wives. I'm sorry. Did they come out of the bush? Did they have family? Did they have basic education?
Well, the university does not teach you how to become a wife.
On the contrary, if they went through secondary school, there's what they call home economics.
How does that teach us?
It's part of it. But let's be serious. But let's be serious. What does this mean for business and economy of that state? It simply means that money has been dumped in a place where it will not yield anything.
Yeah, I want to ask you, how do you think citizens can actually hold government accountable for funds that actually gets diverted like this?
Great. Look, one of the ways you can hold whoever it is that spends such money accountable is to talk about it. Now, we're talking about it now. We're giving those indices and we're giving those breakdown. We're now saying, can we have, I hate to say it, but a town hall meeting? Can we have them come out and explain to us in detail what this money was meant for? Was somebody going for surgery or something? Or were they sick?
What's with you surgery?
Can they explain what this 600 million naira in detail was for? And I can tell you for a fact, it will give EFCC a very wonderful ride.
All right,
and somebody will pay dearly for it.
Let's move our focus now to the economy, where the Nigeria's Naira has been ranked the 9th weakest currency in Africa, trading at about 1,490 Naira to the dollar, according to a Forbes report. It sits alongside currencies from Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Malawi. At the other end, Tunisia, Libya, Morocco, and Ghana are listed with the strongest currencies. This comes even as Nigeria recorded rare disinflation this year, with inflation slowing from 24.5% in January to 20.12% in August. I said something that, they keep the fiscal and monetary, committee. They keep coming with the fact that, we are now stabilized. But I mentioned that it's not reflecting in our pockets. And people were like, what do you mean? What do you mean about that? And this report from Forbes has just proved that. But before I get your thoughts, let's take a look at some of the reactions from netizens. And the first tweet from AJ Daniel said, yet they keep telling us the economy has turned the corner. Exactly my thought. 9th weakest in Africa is not just statistics. It's a reflection of real hardship on the street. We have another one from Commander-in-Chief, and he said, as the day goes by, it keeps getting worse. And now governments are not even willing to help the economy thrive. Azan Muhammad says, they just sit down and decide who is who and what is what. If Forbes says so, that doesn't mean it's accurate. And the final reaction from a netizen, Prophet Speak, he said, this isn't just economics, it's a mirror. Corruption weakens currency, injustice bankrupts trust, but God still rebuilds ruins. Nigeria will rise if truth leads. What's your take?
So it's good that we can, for once, right, see people who are actually thinking very well. From those comments, I could tell that these people are people who have, they are kind of, quote unquote, they are in line with what's going on current affairs. Right? Now, the second one actually got my attention there. Truth be told, if you were saying that the Naira has plummeted and we are 9th weakest, as the case may be, there are a lot of other things that can be responsible for that.
Like what, please?
Right? More importantly, okay, the more we give more credence to the dollar, the Naira will drop, most definitely. Unfortunately, I mean, we have a lot of countries doing business with us with the dollar. The only country right now that we've been able to, harmonize with, although I don't know if they've really started trading directly with currency and boycotting the dollar, is China. I mean, you recall sometime last 2 weeks, they had mentioned that for what it's worth, that we can trade with the yen and the naira, and the naira, which is a good thing, boycotting the dollar. But now, what this means as a 9th position, the weakest, it simply makes you understand that it is high time we make it clear to those who are the gatekeepers in the government to now say, do your job well. Because this is the weakest it has ever been. And we're cruising at 1,450 naira.
90 naira.
90 naira to $1.
Yeah.
Now we're cruising, it's as if we're going back and forth. into coma, out of coma, into coma, out of coma. That's a fact. It's only a matter of time that will probably the economy will probably now be permanently on life support, which we don't pray. We don't want to say our economy tank. And you know when I say tank, you know what I mean. The economy tanks then to be, I wouldn't say free for all, but it will be far more of a sadder situation if such a word does exist. However, truth be told, when you see headlines like this, it makes you understand that is this even the right time? Back to our first story, for PENGASSAN to even be halting Dangote from making sure that Nigerians get the fuel. Because if that even is more difficult, it will make it even worse. A lot of people will still boycott and spend dollar. And the more you buy dollar, the more it's affecting the Naira. And our currency will get weak. Now, that's on one end. Let's also remember that the government is also doing its own part too. There are some certain areas they want the government to budge, to bend. We're saying, no, we're not going to bend. We're already aware that, look, the Western world have thrown a lot of, I'll use this for suggestions and bone at us, hoping that we will go for it. We said, no, we won't go for it. So the more we keep our shoulder up, the more we stand on our feet and say, no, this is not in our values, we will pay in many other ways. All right? Some certain countries might not want to do business with us because we're not in line with some certain, so-called values that some Western countries are throwing at us. Yeah. There we go. There we go. I wish I was here. So what does that mean? It simply means that, you see, Ghana has yielded into something that they wanted them to yield. Nigeria has refused to yield. And as a nation, we are Africa's most populous nation. Let me use that word, right? Based on population. And they see us as, the big brother of Africa. You see, I get very passionate about these things, and so that you see me, I lose my tenses or I lose my pronunciation. That's because I'm very passionate about it. And so I want Nigeria to work. Nigeria works, all of us are going to benefit. But what this means economically and business-wise for us is that we'll be under a lot of strain. We're working 5 times more so that we can be able to buy the dollar to make or do other international businesses, because our currency is getting weak and weak and weak. However, like our president rightly said, if you want to make omelette, you have to break the egg. I'll go back to that.
That was where you got it from. If you want to break omelette, but how do you think?
If you want to make omelette, you have to break the egg.
How do you think the government can actually pull the Naira up? Because we keep pointing where the loopholes have. So what do you think can be done?
Look, again, it is not something that can happen overnight. We have our economists, we have those who are analysts, we have those who understand and who advise the president regarding this issue. Look, amongst everything, one thing for sure, we need to begin to consume what we produce and produce what we consume. Let's body not import toothpick, import this, import sardine, reduce importation and begin to consume what to produce. And the more we do that, we realize we move from just being a consuming nation, right, to a productive and exporting nation. When we begin to do that, we are less dependent on other foreign countries who will say, look, if you don't bend to our will, we will not sell this to you. You know what that means? It means they want to starve us of some certain things. Our economy right now, our country has become so dependent on some certain, goods and services that we cannot produce here. Beg your pardon, I take back my word. That we don't produce here, not that we cannot produce, because we can produce it. So what's really wrong? What's the problem? Is leadership. Can we get leadership on all fronts correctly? The area of manufacturing, can we get leadership running there properly? The area of manufacturing, can we get leadership running properly? The area of even politics, can we get leadership running properly?
Let's get leadership running properly. That's Valentine's solution.
You know what? Every other thing will fall in place. It's like the ripple effect.
Yeah. All right, you heard from the man himself, Valentine Onyeka. Let's get the leadership running smoothly. Now, that's where we wrap things up on social listening for today. We looked at Dangote, that's PENGASSAN Refinery shutdown, and Peter Obi's condemnation of the Adamawa Turkey trip, and finally, Nigeria's Naira ranking. I am Deborah Ezeh, and I was with
Onyeka Valentine.
Thank you for watching BDTV. Up next is Economy and Markets. To stay with us.